Hello and happy pre-burn. Maid Marian just gave an announcement about an update about the status of Burning Man 2021. And while there is no announcement about yay or nay, she did give a lot of information that I found to be interesting and wanted to just kind of share what my impressions were and maybe get questions or comments from others as we plan the road to Black Rock City 2021. First, she said, we are not saying yay or nay. We're hoping to give the go, no go April 23rd or possibly the 30th at the latest, was what they said. Other significant things were they were shooting for 50 to 60,000 people is the goal, a smaller but still significant event. She was saying that it looks like there's going to be other big events that will happen before them. That was a stress, was that what if we're the first, large gathering, and looks like there's a number of events that will be taking place before them. Then she very casually said vaccines will be required. I was like, what? Not because I'm anti-vaccine. I'm very pro, but I was, what are they going to do? And what are people going to say? And she just said vaccines will be required. That is a mandate from the state. And kind of went on from there. That's it. It's a mandate from the state. So if that is the case, that certainly makes it easy for Burning Man. Because I was talking about this yesterday with Carpo, and we did a Facebook Live talking about the burn. That I believe that every organization absolutely has the right to say we demand and require vaccines, whether you're an airline or an event or a household or a business. And yet, because of the state of the world and where people's beliefs are, I certainly do not envy anyone that has to make that decision, because no matter what you do, you're inviting a battle. So how I was, like, hey, whatever Burning Man, God bless them, whatever they have to decide. Although within Pink Heart, I was, we've been asking our camp, like, what do you think about requiring vaccines for one another, for our intimate camp situations, for those that can, within their health situations. But it's not going to be mandated. It's something that I think we all want to agree on together. However, Burning Man seemed very clearly said that this year's burn will require vaccination. So I know I've already seen a number of posts online way before this saying that, if vaccination is required for Burning Man, they will not be attending. It'll be the death of Burning Man. Screw them and screw radical self-reliance and all that stuff. I think if you're going to have a massive gathering this year and you want to have a clean conscience, it feels like vaccination is the way to go. The other things that they announced where they said they got a significant donation so that art grants could go out, even with the uncertainty of the event. So there's $1 million of art grants that are going out with even if they're from a country that can't get here, hoping that they will be able to create their art and bring it another year. They also mentioned a fundraising effort, which will be the ability for people to purchase a guaranteed the ability to buy a ticket for the next 2 years. So for $2,500, you could kind of buy a place in line, to ensure that you'd be able to buy a ticket for the next 2 years. This I've already talked to people who this was disturbing to them, and I get why it's disturbing. And in a pure and perfect world, we would not have any advantages for those with resources that are as opposed to those without resources. But this is an event that requires resources to happen, and so things like there was a fundraising drive that happened this year, and those that had funds contributed. And so this is another way to raise funds. Another reason why I'm okay with this situation is the same reason I was okay with the fundraising thing that in the years past, they've had these high tier tickets, a certain block of tickets reserved that are at like $1,200. And they're offered first. And so if you want to like kind of make sure that you get a ticket, you could spend a lot more and get one. And the reason why I was okay with this is because it also worked as a fantastic anti-scalping tool. As a community, we have a understanding that we do not scalp tickets. You sell a ticket at face value. You do not buy scalp tickets. And yet it happens. It's happened a lot in the past, but once they have a tickets that cost $1,200, it changes the motivation of a scalper. If you buy a ticket at $500 and you know that you may not be able to scalp it because people who've got a lot of money can purchase it on their own, it demotivates the scalper. It also makes sure that delta from the $500 to the $1,200, that $700 that used to go into scalpers' pockets, now goes back to the event and is able to fund art. So the fact that people are willing to spend a ton of money to make sure they get tickets, the fact that that money is going to go back to the event is, I think, an acceptable strategy. It's only 1,000 tickets, so it's not like this block of tickets makes sure that the disadvantaged and those without resource can't go. And there's no indication, there was nothing said that there's going to be minimize the number of tickets available for people, the cheaper tickets. What are they called? I don't know. You can apply to get a reduced cost ticket. So the blocks of tickets that are reduced for artists and such that are low funds, those still exist. There's just a block of tickets that is going to be, you're going to reserve now. At the same time, I think that the best way to get to Burning Man is to become necessary in an established theme camp, a piece of art, or a mutant vehicle, because they get assigned DGS tickets, which are already being assigned. Now, here's the trick, I think, if you want to go to Burning Man this year and you've never been before, talk to any burner you know that is anti-vaccination and say, hey, can I take your place in the build crew of the art project that you work on? Or can I, at least at the event, can I work on Playa? Can I take your place because I'm willing to get vaccinated? Because it sounds like that is going to be a requirement, and they didn't announce how they're going to be checking that, if they're going to do a passport or however that's going to work. The Jeannie asking about the state law requirements for vaccines. I don't think it's a state law. I think it's maybe a requirement for the permitting, probably. But good point. I mean, I'm taking what this announcement was at face value, that they said it was a state mandate. It's possible that there is a more complicated story there. Because just as I was like, oh, well, that makes it easy for Burning Man, I'm sure they realized that as well. If they don't have to make the decision, it avoids the comments of, dismissal and anger that I'm already seeing all over the place. Personally, while I do understand the dilemma and I respect the entertainment of the idea of why some people don't want to get vaccinated. I also understand the science and the reason why for a mass gathering it certainly is, I think, necessary. I'm relieved because while I was planning on going one way or the other, it definitely eases my feelings of, am I doing something reckless? Because if a gathering of vaccinated people is reduced risk. Now, nothing is zero risk. That's the whole point of Burning Man. Jem saying, happy to hear about the required vaccinations. It's the most responsible option to have an event safely right now. Tickets are not on sale. They're holding off on tickets being on sale because they don't want to deal. It's still uncertain if the event's going to happen, and so rather than deal with like refundable tickets or non-refundable tickets, tickets have generally always been non-refundable. They did refund them last year for people that wanted to because it was a nice thing to do, not because they legally had to. And I think that they're trying to avoid that refunding situation in case they can't have the event. Jem's saying that Wasteland Weekend also announced mandatory vaccinations and will be happening in September, though at a much smaller scale. Interesting. Oh, Curie saying that they did say that they'd be checking vaccine cards at the gate. I missed that. Um, yeah, Ross pointed out a good point that in the past there hasn't been good cell phone service on Playa, but because everyone will have embedded 5G chips, we should create a much stronger signal and network. So we should have strong Wi-Fi connection this year due to our Gates implants. Jeannie saying someone is being discriminated against for their principles. I don't know if it's discrimination. I mean, that's an interesting point or interesting argument. Um, uh, it's about minimizing risks and trying to, we're not going to have the vaccine argument here. Uh, but if the reality is that only those going to the burn are going to be those who are going to be vaccinated this year, and you say, "Hey, I'm not going because that's my stand," then if maybe that was uncool for me to say. Um, but I guess what I feel like the people who want to go to Burning Man, the best way to get a ticket is to get involved in a project that is essential in making Burning Man awesome. And whether you take someone's place who refuses to get vaccinated, or whether you just become a core part of a team that's building something, either way, becoming a participant to the degree that your participation is critical is the best way to get a ticket. I'm not saying you should take anyone's place. I'm saying if they can't go and they have a place, you could train them, or you could offer to be trained by someone who's not going to go because of their principles on vaccination. And God bless you if that's the way you want to live by your principles. And if you, but I'm a believer that a modern society requires certain compromises. And if you want to do sustainable farming and live outside of the system, then you don't have to make those compromises. You don't have to buy a phone that causes suffering because of the way that it is built and the mining that happens. You can make decisions that don't totally according to your principles. But when you're in society, you have to play by different rules, or you can or work within the political systems to adjust those rules. And but we have a consensus through the scientific community and leaders that's part of city living. Again, I don't mean to get in a vaccine debate. It's not something I'm ready to do or want to do. Let's see. Jeannie asking, how about those who can't be vaccinated for medical exemptions? That's a great question. And I would guess that is going to be addressed. I know that it would be. They said that they were not sure if they were going to be, requiring testing of people, but it was on the table. And I would guess that because of the way that our community deals with radical inclusion, with the understanding that, a belief about vaccination is something that is outside of the radical inclusion parameters in this case. But if there is a medical condition, I would guess that they would try to make some workarounds for those. For example, maybe some sort of testing and quarantining for people. That's the kind of thing that as a camp we were talking about. We have people in our camp that are not good candidates for vaccination. And they said they would understand if they couldn't go. And we talked about, well, we would create some other guidelines about with testing or otherwise, and quarantining in some way that we would feel we're at an acceptable level of risk. Jack saying lots of people prefer a low-tech life. Amish people, for example, that's okay, and I respect that. But the vaccine thing is apparently coming from Nevada, so any discussion becomes almost purely theoretical. Basically, vax and go, or no vax and no go. I mean, it's kind of like the perfect scenario so that we can avoid these conversations. Right now, I'm lucky that I'm by myself speaking. I'm only reading comments, so this hasn't devolved into a vaccination debate. And I hope the Burning Man community can avoid that place as well, because it's not a very productive. And so if the answer is outsourced and theoretical, as you said, Jack, it allows us to kind of move on with the next questions and at least have those discussions become separate. Obviously, the vaccination conversation is still happening and will be happening, and I think is going to really kick into overdrive in a couple months. In fact, the conversations might be happening in a couple months that are about this. These mandates, the state mandates, and that will be where the conversation is happening, as opposed to within the Burning Man community or within our camp or things like that. Candy says getting a second shot on the 15th. I'm getting my second on the 22nd. Second on the 22nd. Thanks, Painty. Yeah, honestly, I'm feeling a relief. I'm feeling, because I'm in the boat of I'm going if I can, and I will accept those risks, and I will quarantine afterwards. And I assuming that the world's in a state by that time, that the U.S. is in a place where vaccination is at the level, and infection rates are such that it seems like this is a reasonable activity. That is a level of risk that is, if not as good as it's going to get. And so I was pretty much that I'm going to go. And so the fact that if it's vaccinated only, my understanding of science is that dramatically increases the safety of it. It decreases. Now, one of the things that's going to be interesting, as someone brought up to me, what happens at the gate if people show up and are not vaccinated? Do they get turned away? Do we end up having like a unvaccinated leper colony in Gerlach? I apologize if that's an insensitive. I don't know if leper colony is a insensitive, offensive term, but like a place that becomes a congregation of those that are higher at risk, or potentially becomes a super spreader event. This density of people that are higher risk. Let's see. Trying to. Jack saying that the Bonnaroo Festival in Tennessee is happening without a vaccination requirement. Interesting. So, you know, we shall see. And I would guess that no matter where you come out on this, we're going to be at odds with others. I really, 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 really want to participate in Burning Man again. Missing it for a year showed me how significant it is in my life and in my identity. And maybe that sounds weird or like get a life kind of thing, but a combination of quarantine, isolation, and a lack of Burning Man interactions. I feel like I'm not standing as the man that I am, that I am a weakened version of myself. I've forgotten aspects of myself, things that I get reminded of every year. And then as the time passes after Burning Man, those memories get fainter and fainter. And after 2 years of without those reminders, I am distant from the best version of myself. So I'm trying to practice ways to be that best person. That's why if you caught me doing love mornings, I'm trying to be the person that I am on the playa every morning, saying I love you to everyone, and really trying to embody that ideal best version of myself that I am at Burning Man, that I am when I am gathered around open-hearted, loving people. So, that's why this is so important to me. The everything that comes with it, the art and the experiences is also awesome, but it is the community and the interactions and the reflections that I need in a therapeutic way. Yay! Hello, everyone who is here. We were talking about Burning Man. If you missed it, there was an announcement about an hour ago that made Marian talked about next year's burn. We're not sure if there's going to be a burn. They'll tell us the yay nay line is going to be April 23rd, possibly as late as the 30th. Honestly, I thought it was more of a yay. Her talk made me feel like they're less confident than I was that it's going to happen. They had some kind of hedging bets about potential fundraising that they may need to do, and they talked a lot about the digital stuff. They're like prepared to have all the digital burns this year, like BRCVR and Sparkleverse and Burn 2. They also talked about a fundraising effort of 1,000 reservations that are available to purchase for $2,500, which gives you the guaranteed ability to buy a ticket for 2 years. 1,000 tickets over the next 2 years are kind of going to be set aside for those who are, patrons of the arts who have the funds to basically donate a little bit more. And then they also said that very casually, in my mind, which probably was the strategic, said that vaccinations will be required because it's a mandate by the state. So we will know more as we go. I think the plan was for more frequent updates from Marian. And the big thing they got to figure out is the infrastructure. As much as we are the participants and we make Burning Man, the number of people required to create the infrastructure, the DPW people, the gate people, the restoration crew. I mean, there's a lot of volunteers and labor that needs to make sure that they're on board and available. In addition to all the logistics of the vendors and porta potties and water people and all that stuff. So that's what they're all trying to figure out now, and seeing even if they got the permit, and even if they felt like it was a responsible activity or option to hold the event. Could they? Is it possible? At the size that they want to, do they have the resources to do this? And the size they want to sounds like they're shooting for 50 to 60,000, as opposed to the 70, 80, which we've. Is that right? I forget. 77. Is that what it was? I don't know. So a slightly smaller, or significantly smaller this year. Oh, thank you all for being here, and I'm trying to see if I can checking in with the comment or people's posts. Sorry about that. Jeannie's saying, I'm not against getting vaccinated, but I do care about some who are waiting to see how these things work out, yet following the safety rules. Those that can't vaccinate are for medical exemptions. These people are being treated like crap and made to feel they can't speak out about their position without being attacked and ridiculed. I plead with everyone to allow themselves to express themselves openly so we can all come from a place of honesty. I would much rather my friends feel like they can be open with me so I can make an educated decision of whether I want to expose my family to them. I'm also a big pro-choice person when it comes to people doing things to their bodies. This is why I ask, because no one is asking because they are too afraid of the backlash. Hear, hear. I think in general we have had, our country has gotten to a place where voicing a unpopular opinion is impossible, and I think the burn community has gotten to that place. Last year, the should you go to the burn conversations got really heated, and all of the mask no mask conversations have gotten to a point where it's just ugly, and it's one of the reasons why I feel so distant from that Burning Man self that I am, is that in basic everyday life, that behind every mask could be someone that is angry at you or angry about something. And it's the same with expressing an opinion that may or may not be popular, whether it's about, pro or in favor of vaccines or in favor of a choice, we'll say. Yeah, so I appreciate you speaking up, and I appreciate the conversation. It's it is something that as a camp we were really saying, hey, I respect all the camps that are saying that they're not going this year because of these reasons, because of safety, because of accessibility, because of inclusivity. But we also, I respect them, but we feel like there started to become a tone of, and if you're considering going, you're a selfish asshole. And it's like, well, can't we have these conversations? I think we should be able to have these conversations. So thank you. Jeannie agreed. If anybody has official information or links to the laws as alluded to in the announcement, it'd be nice to know that we can, a link that we can refer people to when they're asking about the Nevada mandates. Trish, yeah, after after 15 consecutive years and 13 years as a ranger and 4 DPW, do you have plans to do any of those things this year? Are you planning on going if you can? Yes, Burning Man announced, amongst other things, that vaccines are required as mandated by the state. So something about permitting or something. We are still trying to figure out, what the legal mandate is, but that is what they're saying. So if you are, if that is not an option for you, by choice, it sounds like then Burning Man is not going to be an option. We are uncertain if there's going to be some concessions for people that have medical reasons why they cannot be vaccinated. In the same way that it sounds like, soon there will be countries and as there always has been. There's always been countries that you can't visit without getting certain vaccinations. It looks like Corona 19 is going to become one of those things that affects places you can access. Kiri saying, I love you all, whether you get vaccinated or not. Yeah, me too. And, I even, respect the decision. But I think that along with the decision not to vaccinate requires a responsibility to not participate in certain city mass gathering scenarios. A world without vaccinations is one that did not have the same kind of populations and such. But you know what? I think that to holding ourselves to those ideals and living in sustainable farming, remote ways, how beautiful would that be? And not need to deal with the modern world's sickness and corruption. Hell yeah. All right. Nice, Lady Frog. Good, good, good. I hope you heal quickly and strongly. Cool. Well, this was just a kind of spur of the moment check in about what's going on with this year's Burning Man. Pink Heart is already underway, and assuming that there aren't changes in the trajectory of the world and vaccinations and infections and or new variants, then we are planning on it. We are uncertain as to what exactly we will be offering as a gift to the community. Will it simply be pink shade and couches? Will it also be water? Probably a very low possibility of ice cream. But we want to create a container for love and magic and connection. And we will do it as responsibly as possible. But probably lower key than in the past. And I'm looking forward to that too. Well, good luck in your path, and keep safe, keep your loved ones safe. Even as we are seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, that's different than being outside the tunnel. I spoke with a homeless man, last weekend, who was in the hospital for 6 months, incubated and intubated, and so it really reminded me that, like, one shot and good news on the news does not mean out of the woods. So let's hold tight for a little longer, keep our loved ones safe, and kind of finish as best we can this team humanity to get us on the other side as best as we can, and see what the other side looks like, which is exactly what we're going to be practicing at upcoming events. Whee! So, love you guys very much. Have a beautiful day. Oh, it's 11:15 at noon in just 45 minutes. If you want to join me at zoom.hugnation.com, I'll type it. We got a gratitude circle. So we're going to be, as always, every day we get together and share a moment or two of gratitude. It's kind of like this, except you get to talk. Everyone talks for a minute or so, and it's so beautiful to hear gratitudes from around the world. So I hope you can join us in 45 minutes at zoom.hugnation.com. That'll actually take you to a page that will give you some links. So don't think that if you click on it right now, you're going to be popped right into a Zoom room and be, have to put pants on. You can check out more at zoom.hugnation.com and see you there in a few minutes. All right. I love you. Oh, and if you missed the announcement, also, I'm doing 9 a.m. every morning. I'm doing Love Morning. So if you want to practice your playa self and be stretch and open your heart up every morning at 9 a.m. Pacific, come on in and just connect with beautiful people, kind of like this, except with less vaccination octane. I love you. Hopefully see you at home, whatever that may mean.